Hi, everybody. My name is Lillian Schram, and I'm here today with my mom. Mom,
Hi.
you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm Lily's mom.
And we are going to be critiquing the movie 9 Days, which was made in 2020, and it was directed by Edson Oda. And this film is about a man who interviews unborn souls over the course of 9 days to decide which one will earn the chance to live, which was really interesting. I mean, off of just that brief introduction, I mean, what were your initial thoughts going into the film?
Well, I thought at first it was kind of confusing because you weren't really sure where they were. I mean, then, it'd be like, is this in Utah? Which actually it was.
Yeah.
But to come to find out, then eventually you find out that it's kind of like the before life.
Yeah.
And then these are beings that want to come to Earth and live a life. And if they can't, or if they're disqualified, then they're nothing.
I mean, we kind of get more into that later, just like
sorry.
where they go. No, it's okay.
Getting ahead of myself.
But like where they go, that's like a huge thing,
Sure.
No, I felt the same way, even just like reading that, because that's all we had going into it too. We didn't watch any trailers, we didn't know of it really, but that's kind of all we had during it. I thought it would be more. It had such like a serious tone, very, very serious. The movie kind of felt like there was a filter over it, just it was like somewhat dark, I don't know. But kind of based on that description, is that what you thought the film was going to be like?
When it first started, I remember we were saying, like, when does this take place? Because
Yeah.
of all the TVs. And, like, so I was guessing, like, mid to late 80s, because the TVs were some were, like, really old, but some were newer. But then as the movie goes on, you've got headphones and and things that would suggest that it's more modern. But so maybe that was, I don't know why they used such old TVs. Was that like a kind of a way to say that this was before time? Like there's no concept of time?
That's actually so interesting. I didn't even think about that.
I'm very smart.
You are, Mom. But I guess kind of going off of that, like, how do you think those expectations changed as the movie progressed? Because we start to see it really, time is not a subject of this,
Although it is 9 days, which is weird.
I mean, yeah. But, like, even just the 80s feel to it, or it like I kind of said before, it takes such a serious route,
Well, it goes into a lot of different topics, and I don't want to get ahead of myself again. But I mean, at first I thought maybe it was about suicide.
Yeah.
Because then when she dies and he's trying to figure it out, and then when he says something about about choosing her, and then she threw her life away, and it really rang true, because we know people that have committed suicide. And then I wondered, like, is Will essentially God?
Yes,
and
I
he's
thought that
choosing
too.
who to go, and like how God must feel if someone does commit suicide. Like, I gave you this gift of life and you gave it up, But yes, anyway.
And I think that's really interesting, because it actually plays into one of my media theories that we learned about in class. It's called the minimal effects model. Do you know what that is?
I do not.
So it means that, or it suggests that media doesn't drastically change people's opinions or our outlook on, like, certain messages. So, like, kind of going back to what we talked about before, our initial interpretation, it wasn't heavily changed by outside sources. So you could look at that in terms of the actual film. So, like, we didn't see any reviews or trailers. So that kind of, we didn't really have any view on what it was going to be about. But then also we can look at that through the lens of, like, our existing worldviews. So our beliefs in terms of life and death, like you mentioned, or like suicide, that's kind of more shaped by who we are, not kind of what the media puts out there. So, I mean, this film, it ultimately doesn't really change how we feel about these topics, but it just deepens.
I think it probably deepens our opinion, makes them even stronger. It's kind of like that confirmation bias. Like, whatever you believe, and if you believe something strongly, whatever you see is going to basically make that even a stronger belief, regardless of what the author's intent was.
So I kind of want to talk more about now our overall impressions, not so much our first impressions. And I really want to focus in on the characters and, like, the different souls, which was so interesting. What are your overall thoughts, and, like, what was your favorite soul? Or
I mean, I think my favorite soul was obviously Emma.
Yeah, me too.
Because she was so kind, and without having any life experience, she had so much empathy.
Yes.
and she actually cared even about Will, that her wish for before she went into oblivion was for him to have happiness. And so it's like that ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, I agree. She was definitely my favorite. And that kind of goes into, do you know what parasocial relationships are?
I don't.
They're basically, in the media, they're one-sided connections where individuals feel like a sense of intimacy or familiarity with a person that they don't even know.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, right instantly, I felt that with Emma because she felt the most human, in my opinion. Absolutely. I mean, all of them, I don't know, all of them were kind of, you can see this in Kane, the one that won.
Right.
Just like he was kind of changing his answers based on what he thought Will wanted.
Right.
So it's kind of like Emma was just so true to herself. I don't know. You could
Which surprised me. Like, why wouldn't he pick her?
I know.
But I wonder if maybe it's like she was too kind for this world.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it kind of goes into the more, or like the issue or the argument of like, that's life. You know?
Right. But you would think that you'd pick, like, if I had to pick someone to go into this world, I'd want to pick somebody that's going to make the world a better place.
Yes.
But at the same time, he's thinking about who's going to be harmed most by the world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, we can see that at the dinner scene. Like, just their definitions of, what was it, disgusting or something?
Yes.
Yeah, like she's looking at the good and he's looking at the bad, essentially.
Or he might be more prepared for life.
Based on Will's experience, though. Because Will's, like, the one that's choosing all of that, you know?
Right.
But kind of just going through those characters, we've got, like, Will, Emma, Kane, and Kaio, that was the friend of Will. He was an interesting character.
Yeah.
And we kind of see this in the beginning of the film, which I was confused about. Like, are there multiple people in, like, those little houses that are watching different lives?
Different, because, I mean, there was only 5.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So maybe there's, like, a lot of different houses with different, you know.
I mean, I was wondering...
Can I tell you, like, kind of a gross concept that I thought of?
Sure.
Okay, and you can erase this if you feel like it. But, like, when I was watching, like, in the middle, I'm like, it's kind of... Well, it did kind of make me think about, like, where life begins. Does it begin in utero, or does it begin... does the soul enter the world as the baby's entering the world, or is it in the sperm?
Yeah.
Is it in the egg?
Yeah.
And because sometimes I think about, like, you know, I had you and Tommy, and I think about, like, should I have had more? And if I did, who would those be? Because they would be in oblivion right now. Those sperms, like I think about the 5 sperms who are trying to get to the egg.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody got there, and the others, they don't have a chance ever.
I did not think about that at all. Actually, that's so cool.
And I think about that with my eggs. You know, like when you my eggs, which are gone now, but over the many years that I was ovulating. Sorry, this is really gross.
This is getting really okay.
But I mean, I could do the math. How many eggs did I drop?
Okay, we don't need to do the math.
But I mean, I used 2 out of all those.
Yes.
Many eggs.
Yes.
And what souls would those have been if they were a soul? Like, does God wait for a baby to be born and then assign a soul? I mean, the movie made me think very, very deeply.
That's actually really interesting. I did not think about it like that. Kind of steering away from the ovulating talk. I wanted to touch on the fact that there are stereotypes. You know, I know I noticed this. Did you see that? I think there was 5, right? In the end. Yeah. That there were, these characters kind of fall into stereotypes. Okay. You had Emma, like the unique one. Kane was kind of like the aggressive, tough one.
Yep.
I don't remember the girl's name that liked Will, but we had like that romantic, hopeful interest.
Anna, or no, not Anna. I can't remember.
Yeah. And then Buster, or I can't remember his name. Yeah. He was like kind of not seen as the villain, but he kind of turned into like...
Yeah, he was kind of like, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get what I want. And once I get there, I'm not going to give a shit.
Yes, exactly. Did you see that too? Like, that there were
definitely all different personality types and different... and I suppose maybe that's why they were chosen for those 5 places, you know.
I wonder too why those souls, like... I guess it goes
where
back to
did they come from?
Yes, where did they come from? And I guess it goes back to your weird...
And where are they? Like, I mean, are they like...
Where is a huge thing for this movie?
Right.
Like, where?
Where
are
we? Where are we? Where did we come from before the before?
yes. And that actually, this is perfect. This goes into my next point here. Just the thoughts on setting. Like, where? Like, where
Yeah,
are we?
right.
You know? But let's see. And kind of like how, and I talked about this before though, kind of not getting as philosophical, but just like how did the setting actually play into the mood of the film? How did it make you feel? Just that like absent, empty isolation.
Isolated. Yep.
You felt isolated.
Just, yeah. Very, very isolated.
And I also, one thing I noticed too, I mean, obviously that's like the obvious setting is the house that they're in and like Utah or wherever. But also just looking into the different settings of the actual TVs. Did you think about that?
Oh, yeah.
Just like the different lives,
Yeah.
you know, that you're looking through. And I wanted to bring up this point of ideology. Do you know what that means?
Not I mean,
really.
I'm sure I did in college, but it's been, I don't have any eggs left or any memories of anything that I learned.
Oh my gosh. So ideology, it's the way beliefs and values are represented and propagated. And in this context, it's like through the media. Okay. So, I mean, we both instantly noticed the setting, the obvious setting, but then there's also, you know, throughout the whole film, we see these characters in the TVs, and I think it's sort of a subtle critique of real world ideologies about like what kind of life is, quote, like worthy, you know? I mean, through those characters, you know, that we're trying to get into this life, we notice that, you know, they're pointing out what's expected to be good in life. You know, the beach, riding a bike through like the pretty town, or there was that girl getting married, and then Amanda, who was a really interesting person to Will, just like she's got a talent, she's talented, she has hobbies, and like I think it subtly just showed like the film's definition of worthy. You know what I mean? Do you kind of see that
Definition of worthy of life?
Of life, of what life,
right? Oh,
you know, the good in life.
Well, it's just it's like the ideal. Like it's like you've got, you know, what's better than a day at the beach or a nice. Well, I would hate a bike ride, but that's because I can barely
can't ride a bike.
I mean, I can. It's just not my strong suit. But
I where's like the reading a book or
right,
you know?
Right? Yeah, where's that? Where's the wine? But I think that when you were talking about that, it made me think like out of all those lives, you know, you got the guy in the wheelchair, and the guy that was being bullied, and of those, if you look at all those lives, I would think that one of them would have been so depressed that they would have ended their lives. Yeah. But the one who had everything going for them and the talent.
That's interesting too.
I mean, it doesn't, suicide, it's not a, you know, as we know, we've lost people, and it's like, it could be someone who's got everything going for them, and the pressure is too much.
Yeah.
Rather than somebody who just faces torture every day being bullied.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Okay, now I kind of want to dive more into the, you know, philosophical themes and messages.
Sure.
I want to talk about, like, you know, we've already kind of discussed this before, but your interpretation of the overall message in the film.
My interpretation.
Yes. What was yours?
I think that life is precious. And it's we all get one chance. So actually not all. Those of us who have gotten a chance need to appreciate that and do the best we can with it. I don't know. I mean, I did read after after we watched it, the writer of the movie or the director or whatever, I think he based it off of his uncle committed suicide when he was 12, I think.
Oh, I didn't know.
And so this was kind of like a deep dive into that, like what, you know, maybe like, you know, what happened to him afterwards, because he did live, he did die. Yep. And now, you know, he threw that life away.
Yep.
So now he gets to choose who's. I don't know. It's interesting, but I think the main thing that I got from it is, you know, wake up every morning and live the life that you have and be grateful for it and do the best you can. Exactly. Which sounds really trite, but it's.
Oh yeah, I mean that's perfect. Yeah. Do you think that if you would have read that little description before watching the movie, you would have had a different interpretation?
I don't think so.
No?
No, I think that description, I mean, I didn't know what to expect, but I think it described it, well, I mean, obviously there was a lot more to it, but.
Yeah. No, I felt the same way. I think, I mean, obviously, the ideas around just life and death in general, that was kind of my interpretation, and just being super grateful for the chance you're given.
Right.
You know,
right.
I think that was kind of what I thought from that.
Right.
Do you think that there were any moments that like hit you emotionally?
I think when he realized that there was a suicide letter, because his friend, remember his friend came over
Amanda.
and she's, you know, she was her friend's person or whatever.
Yep.
Because I think that seeing him see that letter and then still not letting it go.
Yes.
And then becoming even more obsessed with why she did it. It was almost like he was reliving his own suicide.
Yep.
And why
Yep.
you know why he did what he did.
Yep. And kind of going off of that too, I think it's interesting that so like obviously Will remembers his life after.
Yeah.
But does he remember? Did he go through the same process that these souls are going through?
Does he
you know,
remember?
does he remember that now?
Yeah.
Because that could play into why he's so like reserved, I want to say, or just serious and hostile.
Yeah, that's interesting because he said that like once you're born, you won't remember any of this.
But now does he remember?
Now when you come back, but and where is like is everybody that dies? Everybody has to do this choosing,
I know,
or is that heaven essentially, or is that the afterlife?
Yeah, no. I think Will's his character was just super interesting. And it also did remind me of a theory. Do you know what the mean world syndrome is? Mm-mm. This is so interesting. So, we watched a whole documentary about this in class, but long story short of it, people who are, it's like the idea that people who are heavily exposed to violent or negative media content tend to perceive the world as a more dangerous place.
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
So, I mean, like, you look at the news, like, they always are constantly portraying violence and blah, blah, blah.
I don't watch the news anymore.
I know, right? Me neither.
That's why.
That's why? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, I mean, like, you go onto the street and then you're like, okay, wait, there's a person behind me.
Right. Well, of course, I do like to watch murder shows, but that keeps me safe.
Yeah. But just kind of going back to this, Will's view of the world, you know, we see now during, you know, his afterlife, I want to say, it's kind of shaped by his trauma and the pain that he witnessed in life, and this in turn affects his decision making process. You know, he picks Cain over Emma, which I truly believe is based on the fact that he thinks Cain, you know, I don't know how to word it, like,
well, maybe he feels like he's got that hard exterior that he won't get hurt, so he won't hurt himself.
That's
whereas Emma was like super kind, and maybe he thought that if she went into the world,
it would kind of ruin her.
It would hurt her.
It would be so interesting to see Will's character before.
Yes.
I that would be such an interesting.
And he was so oh, sorry.
No, that was good.
At the end, then when he decides that he'll grant her wish and do the monologue, and it was like this. It was like he was a different person. He was like filled with joy doing the thing that he loved to do, that he denied himself for so much.
Yes.
And what happened after? Did she go off, or did you know?
That's kind of, as we're wrapping this up, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, the thoughts on the ending. Like, how I wish I could have seen just 5 minutes more.
Yes.
Of just to see, did she disappear?
Did she disappear, or did he say, you know what? You take my place, or like, I know, I'm going to go disappear.
Or just see, like, what would have happened to him, too. Like, how he would have changed.
After experiencing that act of kindness. How he would have changed his,
that would be so interesting to look at. I don't know. Is there any other thoughts on the ending, or?
It's one of those movies that I think you watch and like, it kind of comes back to you. Like next week I'll think of something and it'll remind me, and then I'll have a new thought. Yes. Like some movies you watch and you're like, haha, that was good. Mm-hmm. And then some movies you watch and it kind of sticks with you.
Yes, for sure.
So yeah.
No, I agree. Trying to think if there's anything else. I wanted to talk and you kind of already talked about this, just your interpretation of, you know, I don't know how to word this, the biological sperm egg.
Yeah.
But like, where do they go if they're not selected? Where do you think they go? When they disappear.
The souls?
Yes.
Like, well, I think that's one of those things, like, I mean, the sperm that don't make it.
Yeah.
Go into the toilet, essentially.
Oh my God.
Or whatever.
Wherever. Yeah. But I guess that's true. Like, but I don't know that either.
But I don't think that, I mean, I personally don't believe that sperm have souls.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But maybe it's like, in this movie.
I guess for them though, I mean, they are souls. No.
Who?
These 5 people.
Oh yes,
So I mean, they are souls. They have essence.
Or maybe they have, like I said, like maybe there's like a baby's going to be born on October 3rd. Yep. And there's a line of people waiting to get in, and they have to. And so once that baby's born, that soul goes into that baby, or maybe once the sperm meets the egg, or wherever you think that life begins. Mm-hmm. It's obviously I don't. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. I don't believe that it begins with an egg or a sperm, because that wouldn't be viable. But
no, I guess I mean, this movie does such a good job of like framing like life and death in like a certain way.
It's a huge conversation starter. Anybody that watches this movie,
that's what he said.
It'd be it'd be a good like first date movie.
Yeah.
Oh
gosh.
Not romantic.
I don't know.
But I mean, like then you could really find out a lot about someone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to bring this up too before we close it. Just my dad also watched this, and he had just a very oppositional reading. Just did not enjoy it.
Well, he had a lot of scotch last night. And I was getting irritated because he was making comments that were not, he was just trying to make me angry and get a rise out of me, which he does.
But do you, I mean, you know him, do you think?
I think, I know if he would have watched that, if it was just me and him, and he would have watched it during the day and didn't have any scotch or golf in him, or, he would have been talking about it a lot.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we watch movies like that.
Really?
Yeah, we watched.
Just because I was there.
I think he likes to be a little macho around you. I don't know.
That's really funny.
But there's been movies that we watch. I think if he would have watched that without it drinking anything, seriously, I think he would have been like, that was so good.
Really?
Because he likes movies that are deep that.
They're just, I mean, the movie does kind of like, I don't want to say drag, but it doesn't carry that like climactic
it doesn't
experience.
have like, it's not like a normal movie where it, like.
And we talked about that in my media class actually too. The Breakfast Club is like that too.
Oh yeah,
it's just
a slow burn,
slow setting, but it has a huge impact.
There's so much,
And I know Dad likes Rambo and like those kind of movies, so it's like
we watched what is it? The Menu?
I don't know what that is.
It's on Netflix, and it's another one of those. It's just like, what the hell is going on
here?
Just. But he loved it, and he would like. I know he would like this.
Yeah, but it just kind of makes
he
you. He
probably forgot he even watched it.
It's just. I mean, I feel like it's based. I don't know if this movie would be based on the type of person you are. I feel like anybody watching it would get some sort of
right, and they might not like it or they might love it, but
just think about it.
Yeah,
right. So I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah,
but
I think so too.
Yeah. Well, I thank you so much, Mom, for doing
you're
this
so
with
welcome.
me, and I think the wonderful audience, which is probably just gonna be my teacher, but
no, he's gonna publish it. Is it he or she?
It's a he. No,
he's gonna publish this and be like, "This is the greatest podcast in the history of all my teaching career."
Oh my gosh, probably yeah. But thank you guys so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed.